administrative assistant. The agenda will be the call to order and approval of the minutes. We have 3 A&Rs. At 6:35, we have a public hearing for a special permit at 198 Charlton Road. At 6:55, we'll continue the review and discussion of the adult use marijuana draft bylaw, followed by the town planner update and old and new business, and then adjournment. So hopefully everyone has had an opportunity to review the minutes of August 14th. Any comments, corrections, changes?
There was one that I had and I didn't mark it. I should have marked when I saw it.
Was it typo or a matter of different?
Must not have been very important.
Okay, so I'll take a motion then to accept the minutes as submitted.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? No. Very good.
All abstentions?
Oops. Oh, that's right.
Wasn't there? Yep.
Yeah, one exception. Mike Chisholm. Okay, very good. So next we have an A&R for Joel Castle, 86 Big Allen Road in Clark Road Extension. Here to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm representing Joel Casabon for property on Big Elm Road. And basically what we're doing is we're conveying a triangular piece. It's a 2,397 square feet. It's a non-buildable lot, but he wants to cut it out and convey it to the neighbor to the south. That's basically what the A&R is.
Okay. Gene, do you have any comments on it?
No, the plan meets the requirements, so I'd recommend the board endorse the plan submitted.
Okay, great. Any questions, comments? No? If not, I'll take a motion then.
So moved.
Yeah.
Second?
All in favor? Opposed, no one? Okay. So you'll be up to sign that in a minute?
Mm-hmm.
So you also are representing
Oh, yeah,
the
too.
Comito?
Yep.
Why don't we move on to that one then?
Okay.
And this is at 11 Hillside Drive.
Basically, with this A&R, we're basically, he has a parcel that we're subdividing to create 2 lots. One which has an existing dwelling on it, and the other one is just gonna be a building lot in itself. It has the adequate area and frontage
Okay,
for the town of Sturbridge.
perfect. Gene?
No, the plan meets the requirements, so I'd recommend you endorse the plan submitted.
Okay. Motion to endorse the plan?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Great. Very good. And I'll. Bill, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
See you, Joe.
Yeah. Okay, the next one we have is Gene M. Sullivan, 42 Shampoo Road. And you want to explain?
Yes, I will. So this plan proposes to carve off Lot A, which is 2.32 acres, and this does contain a home already existing on it, and the remaining land is 9.6 acres, and both the lot they're carving off and the remaining land meet the requirements, so I'd recommend you endorse the plan submitted.
Okay. Any questions?
Is the remaining land, I see that there's wetlands and so on noted.
Yes.
But it's a buildable lot, there's enough,
I'm not sure that there would, they would have to go through conservation to determine buildability, but all the wetlands have been delineated on it.
yeah. I
To
see they
take it.
just have a logging trail there, they don't have
Yes.
any roads or
No,
anything in it? Okay.
no, just the logging trail.
Okay.
Does the back lot have any frontage anywhere?
Yes, on Shampoo
Or on
Road.
Shampoo Road
Yes.
also? Okay. Very good. Motion to endorse? Second?
Second.
Discussion, all in favor? Opposed, no one?
I'm sorry, who seconded that? Jim?
Yeah. As soon as you're done signing, it's 6:35, and you can open the public hearing.
In accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, the Planning Board will hold a public hearing at the Center Office Building located at 301 Main Street on Tuesday, September 11th, 2018, at 6:35 PM on the application of Arlen Tool, 198 Charlton Road, Sturbridge, Massachusetts. The applicant is requesting a special permit pursuant to Chapter 22, Section 22.05.05 of the zoning bylaw regarding the erection and maintenance of signs in excess of what is specifically allowed in the bylaw. The applicant is proposing one freestanding, multi-tenant sign of 104 square feet, where the bylaw allows sign area of 50 square feet for a freestanding multi-tenant sign. A copy of the application may be inspected at the office of the town clerk during regular business hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on this petition should appear at the time and place designated.
Very good, thank you. Jean, do you want to review the
Sure.
proposal?
So you have the application and the renderings within your packet. So you'll recall, this is the large office building that was just constructed by Arlen Tool. And they have one known tenant so far, which is Harrington Healthcare. They'll be taking over some space for some medical offices within the building. It's unknown at this time whether we'll have 3 tenants or up to 12. 12 would be the maximum. So this sign is really designed to accommodate the maximum number of tenants in a way that would be readable as you're coming down the 4 lanes of highway there. So the speed limit on that roadway, I'm not sure, I believe it's 50 miles per hour, 45, but I think most people go a little faster than 45 miles per hour, and it is 4 lanes of traffic. So we worked with the applicant and the sign designer to try to come up with a really very simple design that reflects the character of the building. You'll notice the glass elements, the steel on the sides, and then the brick to blend with the building. And leaving, this one shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 panels. If we ended up with 12, the tenant panel would probably be this thinner strip that you're seeing, not the larger one. You may have a larger tenant like Harrington having a little more space, but the minimum font size would be 7 inches per tenant. So if you look at 50-mile-an-hour speed limits and trying to see what's readable, the 7 inches seems to be the smallest you could really go and have that actually be readable. The sign is proposed to be set off the street 20 feet from the front property line, kind of in the middle of the frontage where the building is. And so the application went out for review to departments and no concerns were noted. The chief of police has submitted a report supporting this because of the speed limits and for safety reasons, and I would concur with that as well. I'm supportive of this sign application for that reason. I think that I've put the criteria for a special permit in my report to you, and I think in this case they do meet the criteria with improving public safety and making it much easier to read. There is a little bit of a topography issue. The lot actually steps down, so the sign is 18 feet high. However, the topography steps down onto the lot, so from the street it will actually look a little smaller than that. And I don't think that it's really out of character with the area, and it certainly fits the scale of the building. And the design review committee approved the design yesterday.
Good.
Very, very good. You're here to talk on this? Or
I am.
Introduce yourself? Sure.
My name is David Gagnon, representing Arlen Tool. I think Jean explained it quite well.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if you have any questions about it, but I'd be glad to answer.
Yeah, we'll find out, yeah. Anyone on the,
Just A quick question on the two blocks, like above Harrington and below the bottom row, is that for extra signs, or is that
Oh,
for?
No,
that is part of the design of the sign, and it's glass.
Okay,
In other words, it just gave a little style to it and add some light to it.
okay. Other than that, I agree with the, considering the speed limit and everything, and size of the building, I think it's, if you ask me, it's probably even, you're going the minimum size, I don't know, I wouldn't have a problem going with it even a little bigger, but 7 inches doesn't even seem like a lot when you're driving by at 50 miles an hour.
No, but if I can add to that, if you look at Seven Hills sign, because we walk the street up and
Yeah.
down, if you look at Seven Hills, which is 2 doors down, they have 7-inch characters, which is very visible from the street.
Oh, that's good.
And I
Yes.
think it's a good sign, you
Yeah.
know?
Great.
Okay,
Great. Very
thank
good.
you.
Thank you. Jim? Any questions?
No questions.
Heather?
Jean, perhaps you can tell us, what is the sign, how large, I've read it in here somewhere, but I can't
Oh,
find it.
I'm sorry.
Hobbs Brook,
Hobbsbrook is 190 square feet,
190
and they
square
have
feet.
12 panels on that one.
Okay. And New Boston Road?
Oh, offhand, I could not tell you that one, I'm sorry.
Because I know that they had asked for a larger sign.
Right.
Well, now will this enable them to come in and ask for a special permit that they get a larger sign too?
They already applied for
Uh-huh.
a special permit for their sign, so, I
did
can't
it-
remember.
It didn't come to us, so did it?
Yeah,
yes, yes.
Oh, okay, I didn't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're
Yes,
right.
yes.
That, when we had the large.
Right, right.
But you don't know.
So sorry, I don't know
That,
that
yeah, okay.
offhand, the square footage.
And the one at Hobbs Brook, you said has 12
12 panels.
panels. What, could you tell me what the percentage of the occupied space is going to be occupied by Harrington?
Approximately, let's see, maybe 20%,
20%,
right.
okay.
Potential other tenants, but there could be room for up to 12. Of course, it's not occupied yet.
But I mean, I don't know how your configuration is, but could be less than,
Yes,
but it will not be
absolutely.
more, it will not be more than 12?
That is correct.
Okay. My concern is that as much as it's great to be able to see a sign, and I know we pass them all day long, but we never really read them, and most people on GPS use a address, that if they're really looking for that address and they have it on MapQuest or whatever they use, it's going to direct them there whether there's a sign or not. I mean, it's going to, 190 would be sufficient, just so that they know that. My concern is it can be distracting also. You can say, somebody goes by and they say, oh, that's it, now what am I gonna do, And that street is,
Very busy.
horrific at best. There's really no place to go and turn around unless they're going to pull in the bank.
Hall Road.
Right. Well, they'd have to go across traffic and so on, Hall Road or whatever, and do a U-turn somewhere is what's gonna happen. And I'm concerned that what we have at Hobbs Brook is much larger, and we still can't see a lot of the smaller signs there. They're really small.
They've
And I think that's been an issue for Hobbs Brook in and of itself. Other tenants have asked for larger signage, if I'm correct.
They've divided some of the panels in half, which is not the plan here. Each tenant will have a full.
Right, and it can be quite confusing, I agree, at Hobbs Brook, because they have logos and
Right,
different
right,
things,
right.
okay? Here, we're planning for a single panel, because when you have side by side, it can get difficult to read and lost.
And
okay?
will it have a logo included, or
No,
just their
no
name?
logo, no motto,
Just their
nothing
name.
like this.
Now, the picture that you provided to us has, if I remember, I think it's 7,
I think it's given 8, just
8.
as an example.
and so the smallest panel would be the ones that are at the bottom of the
Correct.
rendering that you've
Yep.
given us?
Yeah, half the size of the larger ones.
Mhm. So consequently,
You couldn't fit 12.
Oh, no, she
Well,
said they
unless
cut
one
them down,
is
so in other words, if there are more, one of these bigger ones will become two.
yeah, but
Correct.
you'd still, I don't know, if Harrington is this size, then you go 2, 4, 6, 8,
Well, if
9,
Harrington
10,
came-
11.
Yes, but I mean, if you could divide each one in half if you wanted to.
You wouldn't have room for 12, though. Is Harrington going to be that size? Or?
For now, that's just giving
For
an
now- oh,
example
okay.
for, as a.
So everyone would be, to get 12, you'd have to have everyone
They'd all be
half
equal.
this size?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
Do
why I
your
don't think there'll be 12.
okay. Do your tenants have any say-so in, well, what their requests are for signage?
No.
They don't have any say-so?
No.
They say?
No, in other words, we need to control the look of it, the simplicity of it.
Well, I understand that, but if I'm, if I have 20% of your building, I'd like to have 20% of the sign.
Well, correct. And then, that could be something that we could talk about, but it has to be
Okay. I'm just saying,
simplified.
yeah, I understand that. I'm just saying if one person has a larger sign than anybody else, you won't have room for 12. And you
Oh, I
may,
understand that.
right.
That is correct, because they have a larger space.
right.
Right.
So I guess maybe it's me, but I'm wondering then why we're showing a sign that,
Well, it could be up to 8 tenants, 10 tenants, I don't
Right.
know.
Well, actually, if Harrington stayed the size it is, and the others were split in half, you'd have 12.
Right.
That's
12
the-
altogether.
Right,
Right.
and that's the whole idea, and with Harrington getting 20%, they may not get 20% of the sign, but I think they'd still be happy to have the top with a big thing, so I think it'll work out very well.
They do.
It's great, I think.
All right. I know I'm in the minority, but I do feel that the larger we get on that road, the more difficult it is it's not the kind of thing that it's going to solve a problem in terms of being able to find your place. I really don't. I just think that sometimes it can be distracting, is my point, and it's a concern. Thank you.
Really, thank you. So,
Okay, I just have a question. You mentioned that there are going to be 2 glass pieces at the top and 2 glass
Yep.
pieces at the bottom. Will there be lights, some kind of lighting within that glass?
Not within the glass, no.
Okay. Is there going to be lighting on the sign?
We're unsure of that, and if there is, we would have to make it down from the top, okay? Not, in other words, not uplighting. But at the present moment, there's no thought of lighting it.
Okay. I just
That's
wanted to
it.
ask the question because it's my understanding that if lighting were needed and if it were decided, we'd have to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
well,
Understood, yeah,
the requirements just show that they have to be extremely lit, right?
right.
Right, we have a
But we have guidelines,
We have
yes.
guidelines in
Right.
the bylaw for the externally lit, so.
Understood,
You got it?
yeah,
Okay.
Right.
understood. But
Thank
right
you.
now, there are no plans for that,
Okay, thank you.
okay?
Thank you. Mike?
How many floors are in the building?
3.
3 floors? So it could be at one point that there could be like just 3 occupants taking up all 3 floors
That would be
in a
wonderful.
perfect world, right? So would it be safe to say then the sign would be divided by 3 if there were 3 occupants?
It could be, but
Okay.
that's not what's gonna happen.
Okay, all right, all right. I mean, I think the overall size of the signage relative to the building is not like, I mean, it seems reasonable, so, I don't think I have any concerns.
Then, well, then why do we have a requirement that says how large our sign should be if it's adequate? We're making it so much larger.
Well, we have provisions also for
Right.
the special permit to
Right.
consider
I
a
understand.
different
Yeah.
proposal. And I think that, I think just alone, the report from Chief Ford shows the advantage of having the larger sign in this particular situation. And, when you look at the overall mass and scale of the building, I think it's very attractive. By the way, it's a beautiful building. You've done a
Thank you.
fantastic job.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So, okay,
Charlie,
yeah,
one more
good.
thing. Was there any consideration, I believe you got the 198 on the building?
Yep.
Was there any consideration to like put like a little scroll on the top or something with 198 on top
Well,
of the
we
sign?
thought of that, but we thought we overdid it with the 198 already, so I
Yeah,
think
it's a
it's,
pretty big 198.
Yeah,
it
okay,
would just add more confusion to the
Yeah.
sign,
okay.
I-
redundancy.
That's a good point, I think, yeah. Okay, so there's no one else from the public here, so I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved?
In second? All in favor? Okay, could I have a motion then to grant the special permit as requested?
So moved. Oh, go ahead.
Second.
Second, we'll trade up between the two of you. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? 5-1, very good. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
And perfectly at 6:55. Oh, it's not, no, 6:50, never mind.
It's not a
Go
public
right
hearing.
ahead. You can go right ahead here.
Okay.
Town planner update then.
The, well, we could do the.
Oh, it's not a
mayor-
public hearing
It's not a
anyway.
public
That's right.
hearing,
So we can
right.
just- We'll move right
Right.
on, 5
Yes.
minutes early to the
Yes.
continued review and discussion of the adult use marijuana draft bylaw.
Okay. So you have in your packets the updated bylaw based on, I think there were 2 edits, maybe typos, and added a word somewhere in the last version when we reviewed this and when Nicole was here. So it incorporates all of town council's edits and any of the edits that were agreed upon at the meeting that were suggested by board members and/or the public. And so I believe that we are done with the draft, and if the board is satisfied, I would ask that you vote to be the petitioner of these proposed changes and to forward that to the Board of Selectmen to begin the public hearing process as required under Chapter 40A, Section 5. And actually, the Board of Selectmen has a meeting tomorrow evening, and so they will actually take this up tomorrow night to vote to pass it over so that we could schedule the public hearing for October 9th. They will be having a special town meeting on October 29th, so we have not a lot of extra time to do this, but October 9th would give us time to continue the hearing if for some reason, we needed to adjust something or
Great.
we had a bad storm, didn't have a meeting, whatever. So give a little comfort level rather than waiting until the end of the month.
And I think the clarification that the attorney made that
Oh, yes.
the 20% does include all Section 15 licenses, whether they're all alcoholic or
Yes.
wine and malt, which doesn't change it that much. It means we have to have 2.
2.
And then, the third would be the
The med-
medical
right.
conversion. So, once again, I think you've done an outstanding job on the bylaw. I think it's really a good bylaw. And we then just need a motion to accept it and to present it,
Pass it.
petition, be the petitioners for
That's correct.
to the Board of Selectmen to adopt this. So we have a motion to do that?
Charlie,
Yeah.
can just one question. If this doesn't pass at the town meeting,
I guess I'm back to the drawing board as you are.
but does that mean they can go anyplace after the
Uh,
December 31st? When's the
Well,
moratorium up?
we have a moratorium until the end of December. The Attorney General's office has extended some moratoriums for communities. If for some reason this failed, I think that we should ask the AG's office to allow more time on our moratorium to get a revised bylaw done that would satisfy people. I think the ban has failed a couple of times now. I think most people understand that we need a bylaw, and I think it's a prudent and appropriate bylaw, so hopefully we won't hit that.
Because that question may come up at the town
Right,
meeting. You know what I
right.
mean? Just so
Mhm.
we have a clear
Yeah.
answer for them. you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Charlie.
And I think also, another point on it is, of course, that the guidelines, from the Cannabis Control Commission, certainly spell out the areas where you can go. And I think that we've done a good job in addressing all that, staying within the regulations and making it really fair for everybody. So hopefully it'll go ahead.
So,
Yeah,
I have a
go
question,
ahead.
I
Sure.
and I apologize, I wasn't at the meeting. I know, a question was in here about whether or not, I know for medical marijuana, there was the overlay district, and whether or not it was discussed about overlaying for commercial, just to keep it at least in a certain area together. I don't know if there's any security concerns with, if you had three retail dispensaries, one on Route 20, one in Hobbsbrook, and one down on 131, if we wanted to think about, do we want to contain it to certain areas, whether or not an overlay for commercial would be feasible or not?
That was discussed at the meeting, and I think the board felt comfortable leaving it in the commercial district for the dispensary. We can only have 2 dispensaries the way this is written, so I think to have one, in 3 locations like that, I mean, we will have the medical, but
So,
Otherwise, it will just be 2 dispensaries, and then the research and development processing would be in the industrial areas. So, but yes, we did go through everybody's questions, including the ones that you sent in as well.
Okay.
I just have one
Sure.
question on Nicole Costanza's note. And I just wonder why, as an attorney, that she indicates we should consider, and why doesn't she say that we must? Because the law really does, at the bottom of, it says, first reading of GLC 138 indicates the community should consider all licenses as issued and so on when calculating the 20%. Shouldn't, I mean, I would say that it's a requirement, is it not? That's how I understood it.
Yes.
But she says kind of should or may.
Well, I think, didn't you say that she didn't get a firm
She
confirmation
didn't,
back?
right, but that was their interpretation at this time.
Right.
That she had specifically put the question out to the CCC, hoping they would get back to her
Right.
with a firm answer, and they didn't.
Right.
So it's their interpretation that this is
Right.
what we should be
Right.
doing.
Yeah, I understand that. I just want, it's kind of funny because we've had that before. Within
Should,
the-
shall, may.
Right, may.
I think that was
As
probably the reason,
legalese.
because she doesn't have the
Right,
exact.
kind of, sort of.
And you may recall that I was pretty adamant that it was really only the alcoholic ones.
That's what I
And-
thought is,
Yeah.
And I reviewed it again, with our attorney in Palmer, and apparently I misunderstood that, or some of the guidelines changed, because he was pretty clear that we should consider both the all alcoholic and the beer and wine, the wine and malt,
Right.
on premises, off premises licenses. So, I think it certainly makes sense. And again, I think it's a very good bylaw, and hopefully we'll get full support
Well
of the
done.
Board of Selectmen and the town meeting. So, once again, we
Can I
have a
just
motion
say
to
something
become the
before?
petitioners and send it.
I'd
Oh,
like
yeah,
to
another
say
question?
something.
Question?
Yes. I
Okay,
just
go
want to commend Jean, because in today's, I think it was today's Telegram and Gazette, the Attorney General's office had granted Bellingham and Northborough
Northborough. Or
permission to
Northbridge.
ban marijuana from their town back in June. And in reviewing the case, it was rescinded, and they no longer can ban
I
the
heard
placement of
something
the
about that,
marijuana
yeah.
in the town. So, thanks to the Gene and this board, we got out in front of it and have protected our town as far as addressing the residents' wants and concerns and putting it forward. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
The CCC originally said that they had to have at least one in each county. So that meant you definitely could ban them. But it was only when they reversed it that the whole
Correct.
situation came up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one thing I'm looking for in here, and I can't find it. Does this in anywhere here talk about the medical marijuana facility being able to go up through
To convert.
2021?
Yes, so under Section 3103A, use regulations.
03A, yeah.
Yes. It talks about it right there.
Okay, there was somewhere I saw that had the date in it, and where I saw it, I'm not sure, but I wasn't sure whether it was saying you could do it up till then, or you must not do it until then.
Oh, you're talking about in 3102 applicability, and that's where it says, "This section shall not be construed to prevent the conversion of a registered marijuana dispensary licensed or registered no later than July 1st, 2017, engaged in the cultivation, manufacture, or sale of marijuana products to an adult-use marijuana establishment engaged in the same type of activity, provided, however, any such medical marijuana treatment center obtains site plan approval," and so on and so forth. So they were registered no later than July 1st, 2017.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
If I could just clarify a couple of things on the draft information I have with the changes. So it's expanding to childcare facilities, correct? And as originally proposed?
What section are you reading, Mike? The buffer?
3102D?
3102D. Yes, as written, where the uses
Yep.
that we put in. She did say, I believe she said that that could be up to challenge,
Mhm.
but that they had some other communities that had expanded it a bit, and so nobody knows what will happen if it is challenged.
Okay. And it was straight line from the nearest point on the property line or the facility?
It's, oh, actually, we were changing that, good catch. So it's straight line from the, it's actually from the property line.
Parcel line? Okay.
Thank you for catching that, because I didn't change that one.
What section is that, Jean?
3103D, where you're measuring the 500-foot distance. We actually discussed that it should be from the property line, because otherwise it would be too difficult to. So from property line to property line. Okay.
Okay, very good. Okay. So then we'll have a motion to present this with the correction on the property line.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed, no one? Passing unanimously? Very good. Okay, thank you. Town planner update, Jean?
Okay. So our next meeting is September 25th. As of right now, we have nothing that's been submitted for
Yeah, I won't be
that.
available. I'll be on vacation. so-
Okay,
I won't be available either.
okay. So maybe
So-
it's just as well we have nothing,
So, yeah, you may not have,
right? Because we're one member down now, so.
So we should cancel.
All right, so the next meeting will be October 9, and that will be the public hearing for the marijuana. And we have Eddie Wahib, the gas station on the way to Southbridge, where the storage tanks have been out of the ground for some time.
Mhm.
He received his special permit from the zoning board of appeals, so he'll be coming to the planning board for
Oh,
site
good.
plan on that night as well. We just received his application.
Great.
And then just an update on Paw Plaza at One River Road. So she has started work there, and as part of her conditions, the tree warden needed to meet with her on site because we were unsure of the viability of some of these trees as she started working. So they had their site visit, and this plan represents a marked-up copy of the discussions and agreements that took place on site. So you'll see the 4 red X's are trees that are not very viable and would be even less viable when they do the excavation around them. And then you can see where there are some arrows in green with leaders coming off of those, and those are trees that she has planned to place around the site. So she's actually proposing quite a few trees to be planted
Nice.
around the site, so I think it's a very reasonable proposal.
Great.
So I just wanted to update the board on that.
Very nice. Thank you.
And the only other thing is Heal is well underway. The foundation is poured, and they are working up there at 660 Main Street. And the public house is coming along very
Really
well,
is nice,
really
yeah.
well.
Great.
They're moving along really quickly. The contractor's doing a fantastic job down there, and they are actually ahead of schedule on this project, so.
Wonderful. Very good. Okay, thank
And
you.
that's all I have.
Great. Any old business? Russell? Oh, Jim?
No.
Heather?
No.
Sue? Okay, new business then, Russ?
Nope.
Jim? Nope.
Nope,
Heather?
no.
Nope. Sue?
Yes. I'm just wondering, I wanted to ask Jean, have any businesses come forward requesting information about locating themselves within Sturbridge recently?
Not
Like, in
recently.
the past 6 months?
No, I haven't really had any new inquiries recently. It's been more of, working with people that we've been working with right along. We did receive an email from Central Mass Regional Planning Commission that there's a regional search for an area for athletic facilities and sports fields, which was sent to myself and the town administrator. They're looking for a rather large tract of land, and I was actually going to look at the maps and send that out maybe to some folks on Route 15 was trying to think of where, commercial recreational is permitted. And other than that, not really. We have a couple of small things, a new yoga studio, little tenants that kind of move in and out of some of the rental spaces, a new hairdresser that recently came in for signage, but I can't really think of anything else recently.
Now I have two more follow-up questions. One is, on 15, the zoning may need to be changed if it's made recreational, if there's enough acreage for recreational. Am I correct?
So commercial recreation is an allowed use in that district right
okay.
now, in special use. There is a discussion that we need to have with the Board of Selectmen, with the Route 15 study that was released by Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. In the last meeting that I had with them, when the plan was presented, I think maybe a couple of planning board members attended. We talked about having a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen to start working on some ideas for changes to the zoning in that area. But that would be about it. So part of the corridor now to the bridge is historic commercial, and then beyond that is the special use district. So, and I think the last in the historic commercial is a couple pieces after the Patel property that was destroyed by the tornado, which actually that family finally has settled with the insurance, and they're trying to put together some plans to rebuild a
Good.
hotel down there.
That'd be nice.
But, we'll have to look at that whole corridor. I think as a group, I think there's some probably simple changes that could be made. I don't agree with everything that's in the report as far as the warehousing and things, because the street light gets knocked down every time you turn around.
Right.
But I think I'd like to sit down as a group and, figure out which direction you want me to go in before I go in 5 different directions.
Good.
So,
Would a work session help with that?
yes, we definitely need to do that.
Have a work session?
Yeah, so at this point, since Thursday's Leon's last day, we have an interim that was appointed last night, or at least selected, I believe. And so I thought once he gets settled, then I'll work with him to set up a meeting date that works for everybody.
Okay. This second question I have is, talk around town is about Starbucks approaching Sturbridge about a possible location.
So I've never spoken to anyone from Starbucks.
Okay.
But I
That's
hear
why
all-
I need to bring
Yes.
it out,
So
and
I
we're
hear-
being televised.
But I do hear that they are looking. I hear rumblings that they've
Okay.
contacted this property owner or that property owner, but I have never spoken to anyone from Starbucks.
Okay, thank
So-
you. Thank
Which
you
is
for-
usually what happens.
Thank you for clarifying that
You're
for
welcome.
all the residents.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. All set? Thanks, Mike.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, very good. And I don't have anything, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.